pours love into the family. He pours love into the home, so his love can overflow into the world. I want to spend my life mending broken people. I want to spend my life removing pain. Lord, let my words heal a heart that hurts. I want to spend my life mending broken people, so his love can overflow into the world.
God bless you and welcome back, and thanks again for stopping in for another program. And here it is, the program we've all been waiting for. We are doing Thanksgiving dinner today, and we are doing it up right. Barbara Kerr has some brand new delicious vegetarian recipes to share with us that are absolutely out of this world. And now some of you might be saying, vegetarian, how in the world do you have Thanksgiving without turkey? Well, keep watching and you're going to find out. And you might want to have a towel handy, because these are not just recipes, they are mouth-watering recipes. So I just wanted to warn you in advance. Just listen to what's on the menu today. We have got tofu turkey with a pineapple cranberry stuffing and portobello gravy. We've got mashed sweet potatoes. We've got winter fruit salad, also wild rice rolls, and some pumpkin silk pie. And I'm here to tell you that Barbara also has some surprises that she's going to be sharing in this program. You know, they say that confession is good for the soul, but hard on the reputation. Well, here's my confession. Years ago, when I didn't know how good the veggie way of life was yet, I went to the store and I would buy the Thanksgiving turkey and I'd bring it home. And then I'd get out the cookbook and I'd follow the instructions about thawing it out and then washing the cold, clammy, icky skin of the turkey. And then it would say, now get your fingers inside the turkey's body and dig out the heart, the kidneys, and whatever other gory body parts were left inside of it. And honestly, I almost threw up. And that should have been a signal right then and there to do something else. But at the time, I didn't know anything else. But really, I think we really need to be more in touch with our feelings when it comes to things like turkey guts. I mean, if it seems gross, it's because it is. So if you're looking for a much better alternative, you have come to the right place, and it is going to be good. So stick around. Okay, let me give you a true or false question. True or false? The Pilgrims landed at Plymouth Rock, were the first to observe Thanksgiving in the New World. True or false? It's false. The very first Thanksgiving was celebrated a year before the Pilgrims even landed at Plymouth Rock. And here's the story. There was a man named John Woodliff, and he had 38 Englishmen with him, and they landed at a place that is now called Berkeley Plantation on the James River in Virginia. And they landed on December 4th in the year 1619. And their ship was called the Margaret, and it sailed to the New World from Bristol, England. And the London company who financed the trip of the ship gave the captain instructions that when they landed, they were to give thanks for their safe voyage. In fact, the original papers from the trip say this: "We ordain the day of our ship's arrival at the place assigned for plantation in the land of Virginia shall be yearly and perpetually kept as a day of thanksgiving to Almighty God." And this Thanksgiving was celebrated by our present-day calendar approximately on November 25th. But listen to this. Those first Virginia settlers, they did not have it easy at all. They encountered all kinds of sickness. In fact, many of them died of what they called swamp fever. And many times they didn't even have enough food. And in the year 1622, the Great Virginia Indian Massacre nearly wiped all of them out. But in spite of all these problems, the people that remained were still steadfast and vigilant about keeping their Thanksgiving Day, even though a lot of them could have said, our problems and our losses are much more than our blessings. They still said, no, we are going to give thanks to God. And here's maybe just one of the reasons they did this, and this, I think, is such an important Bible principle. There's a story in the Bible about the death of Lazarus, and Jesus couldn't get there to see him until he had been dead for 4 days. And when Jesus arrived, he asked the people there to roll the stone away from where he was buried. And then Jesus prayed a prayer that went something like this: I thank you, Father, that you have heard and that you've answered my prayer. Now, before anything had happened at all, Jesus thanked God in advance for the miracle which was about to take place. But through faith, Jesus already saw Lazarus alive and kicking, so to speak. And this shows us how important the faith factor is for God to make the miracles happen. You know, the Bible shows us over and over again that God can't do anything for an unbelieving heart, but he can do awesome and mighty things through believing hearts. And when we thank God in advance for what he's going to do, that is demonstrating such faith, and it's giving God the channel that he needs to pour into our lives the blessings that we are really longing for. And you know, this principle is again illustrated in 2 Chronicles chapter 20 when Jehoshaphat was going to battle. And verse 21 says, And when he had consulted with the people, he appointed singers unto the Lord, that should praise the beauty of holiness as they went out before the army, and to say, Praise the Lord, for his mercy endures forever. And notice here that before they had even started to get into the battle, and before they even saw the outcome of what was going to happen, the singers sang and they praised and they thanked God for the victory. And once again, they were exercising faith when they did this. They gave God the channel of faith through which that he could pour his blessings into their lives. So when the problems, the trials, and the calamities start coming into our personal lives, they start coming into our country, that's the time when we need to start thanking and praising God for the awesome way that he is going to deliver us. Father, in Jesus' name, we just come to you right now. And we thank you, Lord, for this powerful principle that you have laid out before us in your word. And I pray, Father, that we will take advantage of this principle so much more in our lives. I pray, Lord, that we'll thank you not only in the good times and not only for the marvelous blessings that you pour into our lives each and every day, but when the bad times come, when the trials and the calamities and the troubles come, I pray, Lord, that you will help us to be faithful in thanking and praising you for the deliverance that's just around the corner. I pray, Lord, for that brother, for that sister who's watching this program today who might be going through a lot of difficulties, a lot of troubles. I pray, Father, that you will encourage them to make a channel through which you can pour your blessings, and that channel is thanksgiving and praise unto our Almighty God. Help us to trust you, Lord, that you love us so much that you will not put more upon us than we can bear. and that you will deliver us out of all of our troubles, out of all of our trials, and that you will use the fiery heat of our trials to prepare us for that land to come. And we thank you and praise you for that today. In the name of Jesus, amen. Well, at this time, we're in for a real blessing as Angie Trueluck sings a song that's entitled, I Am Thankful. So come on into our living room and listen as Angie sings.
Lord, when I kneel to pray and I try so very hard to say how thankful I really am to you. In my heart, then I know that my words could never ever show what my life lived in thanks could say to you. Lord, I'm thankful. I'm so thankful. I'll live my life so that all may see that I'm thankful. I'm so thankful for all you've done for me. When I think of the price that you paid for me on Calvary, for one so unworthy as I, then I realize there's no way that I can repay except to live every day in thanks to you. Yes, I'm thankful. I'm so thankful. I live my life so that all may see
Welcome back to the 3ABN Kitchen, and right now I just want to give a very special thank you to the Lord for this woman right here, Barbara Kerr, and for her ministry, because Barbara, because of you and your hard work in your kitchen, you are going to make so many homes and so many families so much happier this Thanksgiving because of the recipes that you've created.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you. I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful to be done preparing upstairs. And as always, I'm thankful for your friendship, and I wanted you to know that today.
Thank you. Well, I'm thankful for yours too.
Well, thanks. And I'm especially thankful because today is a special day. It is a kickoff of my 3rd cookbook.
All right.
Which is going to be an international cookbook. So, but people need to know the 2nd one is not finished yet. It will be out summer 2002. So.
Well, you are such a hard worker, and most of your work is in the kitchen, which, like I said earlier, you make a lot of people happy because of that.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, Thanksgiving is one of those special times, and what we're going to do, Linda, for our table today, I like to always start with some little either table decorations or a gift that you can give away. So we're going to do a little bit of both of those things.
Okay.
And we're going to get started
right
away.
We don't normally see a hammer in the kitchen.
Yeah, I had someone walk by and tell me they'd never seen their wife use this on a recipe before. But I'm going to show you how. Now, there's no ingredients for this, but I just want to show you how to make a few unusual candle holders. And I have just taken, this is like a small butternut squash, and you can get any squash that you like, and I've cut a little slice off the bottom so that it will sit properly. And then we have a tangerine. You can even use, you know, whatever, a kumquat or something small, an apple, it doesn't matter, but it needs to be something that's not too terribly big. And we've topped it with a little tea light, and the tea light is decorated with different things. This one is glitter. I have another one with beads on the side. And what I've done is taken a 4-inch nail and just pressed it through the tea light holder, and then you can put the candle back on top. And so I have one more here, and I'm going to show you how we'll do a different type of squash.
You know, I've always wondered what you do with squash like this. I know how to make acorn squash, but I have no idea what to do with something like that.
I really don't know how to cook it. So you know, squash isn't exactly my specialty. There are a few things. Baking bread I don't feel like is
But it makes a great decoration.
It is. And it's so hard, and they're very pretty. You can fill them, you know, fill up a basket. Now, what you do to decorate the side of your tea light is it's very simple, and I really like the simple decorations that are easy and don't require a lot of time. Just pull off a little piece of
tape.
Double stick. You need the double-sided tape, and you're just going to start it on your tea light around the edge and see if I can get it to go straight. Almost. And pull me off just a tiny, tiny piece. I almost made it around. Okay. Okay, and then you can pick, I've got red sand, and I've done one in glitter, so let's try the sand. You're just going to roll this in that to color the side. And you can get, this is just sand art get it at a craft store. We're going to pull this out. We'll take our tangerine, put this here, and let's just place that and start to press that through there. And then when you get to the hard part, that's where I can keep from destroying.
This is something the kids would love to do.
Yes, now isn't that pretty for a candle holder?
Yeah.
So that's one idea, very simple, but you can have a little bit of fun with that. It won't take you all day. And I have another one we can do quickly. And this is just getting some inexpensive glasses. I actually got these at one of those, well, I paid $1 for it. And all you need are some cranberries or nuts. And you're just going to fill up part way, and then just take a votive and then stick it in there. And then you'll just need to balance it better. So, and you can do this with nuts.
You could even fill in around it. That's a good idea.
Make it very pretty. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to top your table. Now, I do have a gift that I wanted to show. We won't do these other ones because I think you get the idea. And this gift is actually making a basket of caramel corn, because whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, whatever the holiday is, this is the time that you like to give gifts to your neighbors, and I have a gift for you. So I'm going to show you how, well, tell you, I'm not going to actually demonstrate this recipe, how to make this really pretty basket filled with this healthy caramel corn.
Thank you. I tell you, that is so cute.
It's very simple because we just have a basket that I've lined with a 17 by 17 inch napkin. I put a little plastic in there at the bottom because I didn't want to destroy the napkin in case you wanted to use it. And then just found something for the holiday and stuck it in behind that. And I'm going to give you the ingredients for the caramel corn recipe now. And those are, you'll need 8 cups of popcorn popped, about 1/3 to 1/2 cup unpopped, 3/4 cup sucanat, 1/3 cup Earth Balance margarine, 3 tablespoons pure maple syrup, and 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla.
And let me tell you, I've already tried it, and it is terrific.
Oh,
it is really good.
You don't miss the baking soda in here and the regular sugar and things.
No.
So it's very simple. All you do is pop your popcorn in a hot air popcorn maker, or you can do the old-fashioned kind on the stove, not the microwave bags, and put it in a large cake pan, like a 9 by 13 in the oven at 300 degrees, and then take that and let that warm. While in a saucepan, you're going to mix up your 3/4 cup sucanat, 1/3 cup of Earth Balance margarine, 3 tablespoons of pure maple syrup. Leave your vanilla, and just bring that to a boil and boil it till it gets to 255 degrees Fahrenheit, and which only takes less than 5 minutes. It really boils much faster than a normal recipe, you know, the other kind of recipe. And as soon as that reaches the temperature, stir in your vanilla, pull the popcorn out of the oven, and then just put it over the top and then toss it till you coat all the pieces of popcorn. Stick it in the oven, bake it at 300 degrees for 15 minutes, stir it, bake it another 5, and then just turn it out onto a cookie sheet and let it cool. So that's all there is to it.
Well, that's great.
So.
Great seasonal gift. Well, what's coming up next?
Well, you know, this next recipe, Linda, is big. It's the biggest recipe that we have. So I want you to make sure that, just understand you're going to want to either set your VCR or do something quick, because this one's
a long recipe.
Yes. It's our tofu turkey, and I actually was sent this recipe by a viewer whom I promptly lost the second page that she gave me, which had her name on it. So you know who you are, but thank you very much. She had gotten it off the internet from a website called Veggies Unite, and I believe it's Tracy Van de Erve, and I'll have to look at the other part of her last name again. But it's her idea for making the tofu turkey. I have just taken a variation on what she originally did, used to, you know, different things. So I wanted to give her credit for that. So we're going to start with that now, and we'll read those ingredients for you. For the turkey, you're going to need 5 pounds water-packed tofu, extra firm, 1 tablespoon plus 3/4 teaspoon salt, 1 1/4 teaspoon dried oregano crushed. For your optional drumsticks, you'll need 1 pound of water-packed tofu, extra firm, 3/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon dried oregano crushed. For the stuffing, you're going to need 2 cups of portobello mushrooms cubed small, 1 1/2 cup celery chopped, about 3 stalks, 1 cup onion chopped, 1/2 cup Earth Balance margarine, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 4 cups of Pepperidge Farm cornbread stuffing, and 4 cups of Pepperidge Farm cubed country style stuffing, 1 20-ounce can of crushed pineapple drained, 1 cup toasted pecans chopped, 1 teaspoon dried oregano crushed, 1 tablespoon fresh sage minced, 2 cups boiling water, and 1 cup dried cranberries. For the turkey basting mixture, you will need 1/4 cup toasted sesame oil, 1/8 cup liquid aminos, 1 tablespoon of barley miso, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, and 1/2 teaspoon yellow mustard. That was a mouthful. But this recipe is really delicious, and we will show you how to do it now.
All right.
Good. Now we're going to start with the stuffing first because this needs to saute, and then we'll move into the turkey itself and do that. So we're going to put in just a 1/2 cup of Earth Balanced margarine. This is a great margarine because it does not have hydrogenated fats in it, and it's all dairy and animal product free. And then we have, that's a 1/2 cup, and we have 2 cups of portobello mushrooms, your favorite. And then 1.5 cups of celery, and 1 cup of onion, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Let's put that in there. We'll just stir this in, and we'll get it sauteing because this is going to need to soften. I'll turn up the heat a little bit. Okay, and I hear our boiling water is ready in the microwave. If you want to grab that, and we'll start on the next part of our stuffing. We need to put in our 4 cups of the cubed country-style bread cubes. We have 4 cups of the cornbread stuffing. You just set that to the side. We will use that in a few minutes. A cup of toasted pecans. Go ahead and put our cup of cranberries in. We have 1 tablespoon of sage, and I used the fresh sage. And we have, how much oregano? That's 1 teaspoon. And we've got a 120-ounce can of pineapple that
Now, is
has
this
been
drained or
It
not
has
drained?
been, but it's still a little juicy. I did drain it.
Okay.
And then if you want to just
Sure.
toss those and kind of mix that throughout, and then we'll just let that set while our veggies over here get tender, and we'll start to make, I'll show you how to make the tofu turkey part, which is really kind of neat. But I will confess, and this is to keep me humble, I'm sure, my turkey today kind of fell a little bit, so it's a little flatter than it was when I made it at home.
But it still tastes great.
It tastes good, and I'm going to tell you what I think happened that made it go a little flatter, so you can avoid that at home, but it's not a bad thing, and it does taste wonderful. So this is a great stuffing. And if you have a stuffing recipe you would rather use in this tofu turkey, you know, go ahead and use that. It just takes 4 cups of any kind of stuffing, whether it's savory or whether it has some sweet things in, like mine has cranberries and pineapple. So we'll set this aside, and we'll make the tofu turkey part. And I'll take that water just so we don't lose it. Okay, now for the turkey, this thing's heavy. Okay, you want to pull our tofu over. It's in the bowl up there. Okay. Now it takes 5 pounds, so just go ahead and break that up into some chunks.
Now this is a different kind of tofu. I mean, it's not your silken.
Right, this is water packed. You definitely do not want to use silken tofu for this recipe, and this is extra firm. Just break it kind of into a few pieces, and then we'll let the machine do the rest. Now you can also do this with hand mixers, but it takes longer to get it to the consistency that you need it. And I'm going to try really hard not to flip any of this out on you. You know, this was my first time working with a KitchenAid, and it's a little different to get used to a new kitchen tool. So first it's just going to chop it up into pieces, and then we're actually going to blend it so that it becomes, well, let me turn that down again. If I've ever thrown food at you before, I think today will be the day. And so this will actually blend down to the point where it becomes very soft, and should we be like Graham Kerr and put the tofu back in the bowl?
Well, what if, say, our viewers do not have a Bosch like this? Can they use like a regular mixer?
Right. You can just use hand beaters and then just beat it. And until it becomes nice and soft. And because all we're going to do is reform it and shape it into the bottom of this colander to form our own turkey.
Okay.
And as you can see now, it's starting to get just
A little bit softer.
Okay. Well, we'll let that go. Now we're going to add to this 1 tablespoon of salt, which is, yeah, in that stacked cup. And I'll take this oregano because we're going to crush the oregano. And to do that, you can, I have a mortar and pestle. You just put your regular flake. Now I want you to smell this first. Okay? It has an oregano flavor, but after you just crush it with this. It really brings the flavor out in the dish that you're making. Now smell that.
Whoa.
I know, it's a big
That's
difference.
big, yeah.
Isn't it? So, well, let me see if I can get this in here. So all that's flavoring our tofu is salt and the oregano. So now I think we can turn this up a little bit. You can see it's starting to get just a little bit
More doughy.
yeah, softer.
Yeah.
So you can set that. This is for our basting liquid. And what we'll do is, I'll show you how to set up the colander. You're going to need a 12-inch colander to make the turkey, and preferably something that does not have handles at the top. All you're going to need is a piece of cheesecloth. So I think I've got one right there. Yeah. And you need to have it damp, and it just needs to be the size that will fit your bowl.
Where do you get cheesecloth like this?
This is actually some unbleached material that I picked up in our health food store at home. So I wasn't, you know, my grandmother used to make things with cheesecloth all the time, but I never did. So I did come across it there, and you just need enough so that you can fill. Let's see how big Okay. Right. Today will be the day that we really needed aprons. Looking like it's getting soft. Good. We'll just
Now,
keep
do you
this
cook
soft.
that until it's just like crisp tender?
I like this until it's nice and tender, right about 10 minutes of cooking time, and it can just start to brown if you want. It really doesn't matter too much. So however you like the veggies in there. Okay, let's test this and see if it's soft enough for, yes, this is soft enough now for the purposes that we need it for. And the purpose of this, let's see now. I did lower this. Okay. Actually, you can tell.
This is a new piece of equipment to the both of us.
So you
But
can.
hey, you know,
way.
that's part of the fun of cooking for Thanksgiving. I mean, when you're cooking for Thanksgiving, you're, well, a lot of times making recipes that aren't familiar to you.
Right.
But
This way you can have a good chuckle too.
sure.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're going to take this and just press this down into our bowl. And I'm going to use the back of this spoon. A lot of the water actually has already come out of this tofu because while I was just having the tofu sit there and drain for the program. So that's really what we're trying to accomplish, is to get the moisture out. So after you've formed this, you're just going to take your cheesecloth and fold it in on your tofu. Pull it back, and then you need, actually, do you want to grab our one that's finished right there on the counter with the bag of flour on it? Let me move this back. We have, you're going to want to put a weight on top of this. So we set it, yes, this is our finished one. And I need, actually, let me grab this, the plate and the weight. So you just want to take this one, put a plate or some kind of shallow dish over it. You need a plate. I've actually used a lid in this case, and then you need a 5-pound weight. So I'll set my, either maybe a partially filled gallon of water. a bag of flour.
How long do you leave that there?
Well, you know, Tracy in her original recipe said you only need 2 hours. I've never found it to work in 2 hours. I've been letting it sit overnight, and that seems to be the best for getting the water out so that it's actually pliable. So I would say give it at least 6 hours. So since this one
so you don't have to keep the tofu in the refrigerator or anything?
I do actually keep this in the refrigerator. So
Okay.
we can set this back here, and I'll show you how we form our turkey.
Okay. Now, some of our viewers are saying, now how are you going to get a turkey out of that?
Wow. And actually this colander is a little flat on the bottom. I liked the green one better because it's perfectly round. You're just going to take about 1 inch from the side, and I just kind of give myself a guideline. And we can use this as our bowl. And I'm just going to scoop out our center.
So you'll leave like about 1 inch all the way around.
I'm going to make a shell because our turkey is stuffed just like the birds. And this slice is so nice. The leftovers are fantastic. And you can even take the slices and saute them in a little olive oil for a little different something the next day when you're eating your leftovers. And
Now if you get too deep, just put it back.
that's right. There you go. And like I said, this pan is a little shallower, so. But this should hold 4 cups of our stuffing. Okay, and I think we're ready to complete our stuffing, Linda. We'll need that in a minute, so you can just, let's push these off to the side.
Okay.
Okay, we're making a nice, let me grab a towel here. And we're gonna take our big bowl. Let me tell you, I can really mess up the kitchen. Just ask my husband. Okay, here we go. We've got our big bowl, and now we're going to just add these ingredients. Get all that out.
Okay, then toss it. Boy, that smells good, Barb.
This is an awesome stuffing. And you're going to have actually half of it left over that you're going to bake in like a 9 by 11 cake pan at 325 degrees for about 30 minutes. Cover that with foil so that the moisture stays in. Now we have our boiling water, and this part, Linda, there's 2 cups of boiling water, and I just add about a half a cup at a time. You do not want this to become soggy. So go ahead and stir that in, and then I just continue to do that till everything is coated. Stuffing should not float. Okay. Let's go ahead and pour in a little bit more. I don't want to burn you.
You know, last year for Thanksgiving, I used your stuffing recipe from your cookbook that you have out. It was really a hit at Thanksgiving. Everybody liked it.
That was a cornbread recipe too. Yes. Okay. Let's do. Now, if you were not using the cubes, you probably would not need this much water. If you decided to do 8 cups of cornbread stuffing instead of the cubes, you would definitely just use a little bit less. But that you would have to gauge yourself, because I didn't try the recipe that way. But the cornbread breaks down quickly. And let's just put the rest on here.
That's kind of nice thing about the cubes is they don't absorb the liquid near as fast, and you're going to get a little bit of...
Yes, and it'll give you better texture.
Yes.
Okay, that looks great, Linda.
Okay.
Okay, let's put 4 cups in here. Actually, let's just skip that step. I like to measure it, but let's just put it directly into our tofu turkey here.
So this will be approximately 4 cups.
4 cups of stuffing. Every time that I've made it, it's taken exactly the 4 cups that I've reserved.
Okay.
I'm just going to fill it up to the very edge.
That looks good.
Just want this nice and solid. And then go ahead and just take this leftover and we're just going to put it on top of this. So it has a bottom to it. Okay.
Now, are we making the legs?
No.
No legs today.
No legs. No. I will give directions for legs. You know, what happens with the turkey is that as it bakes, I wish there was a way, and I haven't figured it out yet, to band the turkey around the bottom so that it won't spread just a little bit. And if you could keep it from spreading, and I think that just depends on how much moisture is actually in the turkey, the legs would stay better. But the first time I tried it using her suggestion for the legs, they went off the side of the pan. So that was a little surprise for me in the oven. Okay, now on to, I've just taken a 13-inch round stone, but you can use any stone or any cookie sheet.
Pan.
Move this here. And move this out of the way. We have
Perfect.
our tofu turkey. And then what you can do if you want to press it to make it a little more oval, if you want to do that, you can. Now we have a basting liquid for this. We're going to mix that up in a little mixing bowl right now. This is simple to whisk together. Let me give you this medium-sized one. And those ingredients there, and I'll just read those off. Linda, and you can mix them up. It's a 1/4 cup toasted sesame oil, 1/8 cup of liquid aminos, which is an unfermented soy sauce, 1 tablespoon of barley miso, also pronounced miso, and that's in that container, and I'll hold that up and show. Now, this comes in different kinds. There's all different kinds of miso. I picked barley for this recipe. I'm sure you could try a different brand. It might affect the taste a little bit, but I didn't have time to do all those experiments. So this is the one I tried for you. It's made from barley.
Okay, then you just blend all this together.
Just whisk this up. And you're going to baste your turkey with this. Go ahead and do that, and I'll get out our basting brush. And then you're going to cover it with foil and then roast it in the oven for about 1 hour. Take it out, take the foil off, baste it again with the sauce, and bake it for another hour. Be careful, you might want to put a pan underneath it to catch any drippings because it will, some of them, depending on your tofu, will be more juicy than others, and you don't want to have any of the sesame oil in the bottom of your oven smoking.
Speaking of sesame oil, it would not be a good idea to substitute any other kind of oil because the sesame oil has the flavor that you're looking for.
And this gives it the color that we want for our hours. And this is what so it just...
So how often do you baste it?
Just once after an hour at the beginning, and then when you take the foil off after an hour. And you're going to bake this at 400 degrees the whole time. So if you want to get out the one that kind of went, I think it's right there on that plate. I'll show you. My tofu was wet.
You know, I still think this looks terrific. It looks very, very good.
Oh, thank you. The one we did at home was a little bit rounder like this one, but I really think it was because I didn't have enough time to drain the tofu with the right plate. And so when the tofu's moister,
It's going to be flatter.
It's going to have that water, and the water's going to keep it from holding its shape as well. So
When it comes out of the oven, is it puffed up kind of like a souffle?
it does look a little puffier, and then as it sits, it will kind of go just a little flatter.
You know,
Hopefully not as
it's
flat
got a
as
real firm texture now.
It does. It's very nice, and I just want to cut this for you and show you how firm this is and how nice it slices, and I'm going to take this out so the viewers can see just
Oh,
how
that is
you can see this.
pretty.
And then this side is beautiful.
Oh,
So you can just cut this in slices.
and you
it's-
put the gravy over it. Ooh,
Now we have a mushroom gravy that we're going to give you the ingredients for, but I'm not going to actually demonstrate it. So we'll read those for you now. They are 1/2 cup earth balance margarine, 2 1/2 cup portobello mushrooms cubed, 1 cup of diced onion, 1 1/2 teaspoon salt divided, 1/2 cup whole wheat pastry flour, 2 cups of silk soy milk, the original flavor, 2 cups of water, and 1 tablespoon of Bill's Best chickenish seasoning. Now to make this mushroom gravy, you just need a saucepan, a large saucepan, and you're going to put your 1/2 cup of earth balance margarine in it along with your 2 1/2 cups of mushrooms and a cup of onion and just a 1/2 teaspoon of the salt. And you want to really brown that, Linda. You want, because that's where your flavor comes from in gravy. After you've done that, then you can add your whole wheat pastry flour and just continue to coat the vegetables, and it'll look very lumpy at that point in time, but just let that brown completely. I mean, you want the flour to begin to brown because that has good flavor. Then when you feel like it's at the right moment in time, add just a little bit of your 2 cups of your silk soy milk and just begin to whisk that in until it gets a little thicker, and then you can add all of that liquid and put your Bill's Best chickenish. There's a tablespoon of that. Mix that in a little bit of your 2 cups of water and dissolve that, and then just let it cook down until it's thick enough for you.
Sounds
So
delicious.
it's a delicious gravy. So,
oh, and this looks really good too.
yes, it is very good. So
Well, what's coming up next?
I think we're off to our next recipe, which is going to be our mashed sweet potatoes. And if you've not had mashed sweet potatoes, you're in for a real treat. For this one, Linda, would you like to read the ingredients?
Sure. You will need 4 pounds of sweet potatoes or yams, about 12 medium, 1/3 of a cup earth balance margarine, 1 teaspoon salt, 3/4 of a cup silk soy milk.
Now, Linda, before we make our mashed potatoes, I've actually cut you a little slice of the tofu turkey because I just thought it would be nice if people could see actually, you know,
Somebody eating it?
your reaction to it. Because it is really a different concept with a little bit of our gravy that we have.
Well, we need to get a close-up shot of this so we see how it's served. Okay, I'm going to try this.
This is not a fluffy taste test.
Yum, yum, yum. That really is good.
Now,
That is a winner.
thank you. And now if I can just figure out a way to make it completely hold its shape, I think I'll be really excited about it. I like the taste of this recipe. I just don't want it to go squash at all.
You know, this isn't a bad shape for it either, though. And especially when you've got a large group of hungry people, they really don't care.
This is true. I'll give you the one we made today, and you can take it home for Thanksgiving.
That is wonderful. And can you freeze this? So you can put it in the freezer and then on Thanksgiving morning, stick it in the oven.
Well, you will be the one that lets us know if it works that way, and then I'll
Okay.
put it in the cookbook, because when you freeze tofu, it does change the texture, but I think it makes it heartier. So it might actually be the secret we're looking for keeping its shape.
All
So
right.
you do that, and that'll be an experiment.
let you
and
know.
It
I'll
will
let
be
you know.
in the International Cookbook.
All right.
Okay, now let's mash our sweet potatoes. This is a nice variation on regular potatoes. We're just going to put our 4 pounds in here. Hopefully we've got enough room. Okay, and
And the sweet potato is one of the healthiest thing that we can put into our bodies.
one of the healthiest vegetables on the face of the planet.
You know, I want to mention, on our trip to Cambodia, I mean, we were out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, so much so that the babies, they didn't worry about diapers out there. But one thing that I noticed is these little tiny babies, I mean, the mother would be carrying them around on their hip, and they would be chewing on a sweet potato.
Sweet potato. Wow,
Yes.
that's great.
They
Let's-
looked very healthy, too. Okay.
I'll grab these. This is our silk milk. And we have some margarine.
You know, I am so
I'm going to go
thrilled.
back here.
I am so thrilled too, Barb, that so many different places are carrying health food items now.
I know.
And the soy milks.
I'm so happy that the silk is really making it into the big market.
Right.
Let me tell you those ingredients. That was 1/3 cup of Earth Balanced margarine, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 3/4 of a cup of the soy milk, the silk, original flavor. So, and then if you need more, if they seem too dry, then you can go ahead and just add more silk. So you just, and when you use the beaters, it will take out those fibers that are in the sweet potato that might be too tough. So this is a good one. You can make this go either way. You can either make this into a salty mashed potato and serve the gravy over it, or if you want to drizzle it with some pure maple syrup, Linda, that's equally good. So you can go both ways. So that.
And you know, Barb, I'm not even going to mash it anymore because I don't know about you, but I love potatoes with lumps. What do you think?
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
and these are
good.
very pretty. So those are sweet potatoes. Now we
Okay.
do have a cranberry dish that's very simple cranberries, and there's just only 3 ingredients, and we're going to put those up on the screen for you now. It's 4 cups of fresh or frozen cranberries, 1 1/2 cups milled cane sugar, and 2 cups of water.
But you can't have Thanksgiving without cranberry sauce.
That's right, and this is as simple as it gets, and probably close to what those first settlers had, because they had cranberries not right away, but available to them up in Massachusetts and along those areas. Just 2 cups of water brought to a boil, 4 cups of cranberries that we're going to allow to boil until they pop, and then they'll thicken as they cool, and that is 1 1/2 cups of milled cane sugar. And
Now,
I'm just gonna
what is the difference between the milled sugar and like the white granulated sugar that's in the stores?
Well, the basic explanation for that would be that white sugar has been highly refined and gone through a lot of process to bleach it and make it to totally remove all the vitamins and nutrients. This sugar is from the sugar cane that has been dried and then broken into pieces. And so the vitamins that God put into the sugar cane
Are still in it.
there. So it's still a sweetener, and you still need to be careful of
Too much.
Yeah. The cranberries are highly tart, as you know, so we're just going to cover this. Now this will thicken more as it cools, so you're just going to cook up the sauce, put it in the refrigerator, let it cool, and then serve it cold at your meal. So this is a very simple one. But you know, it makes me think of those first meals, and I was very surprised to learn that the very first settlers that came over here, for their first meals, they ate a lot of meat. Our traditional meal of having turkey and stuffing and corn, what else do you serve at your meal?
Bread, like those
And
really
potatoes.
good buns and potatoes.
Lots of vegetables. They
Sure.
didn't have all of that available to them at the beginning. So they served, because they were on the ocean, they had fresh oysters, they had cod, they had a lot of different, they had seafowl, they ate a lot of meat. I mean, most of their meal was centered around meat. And then there were a few things that were vegetables from their harvest. But there really wasn't fruit around yet, so those types of things didn't exist. As a matter of fact, the first Indians that showed up, they're not really sure whether the Indians were invited or whether they actually showed up at that celebration. But we know that they outnumbered the settlers by 2 to 1. So they were asked to go out and bring back 5 deer, which they did, and then they killed the deer and then had their celebration. So
There's actually a Bible text in the Bible that basically says that we should have a Thanksgiving. And that text is in Leviticus. What is it, Barb?
Got it here. Leviticus 23:39, and it shows that God is the one that established Thanksgiving, not the first settlers. When we have gathered in the fruit of the land, ye shall keep a feast unto the Lord. Leviticus 23:39. And when I read that, I thought, that's what Thanksgiving is all about, showing God how grateful we are for those things. So,
Well, we can't go any further in this program until you tell me what you are personally doing for Thanksgiving.
oh, Boy, let's see. You know, my brother and his wife and baby are coming to our house, and my father, whom has not spoken to me in 2 years and has called to make peace, is coming to my home for Thanksgiving with his wife and son, and I am totally thrilled about that.
That is wonderful.
So what are you doing for Thanksgiving?
Well, actually, my brother-in-law, Tommy, has invited us over. Tommy is somebody who plays the piano regularly on 3ABN, and y'all know who he is. But his wife, Carol, is cooking up a big Thanksgiving dinner, and of course, we're going to bring some dishes along. And Dan has 5 kids in his family, so all the brothers, the sister, they're all bringing their families, and we're bringing food, and we're just going to have a big hoedown at Tommy's house. And then in the afternoon, Dan comes from a very musical family, so we all get together and just sing together, and it's a very nice time.
That sounds wonderful, but I think you're going to need 2 tofu turkeys with that many people.
I think so. I think so. You know, but when I moved to Southern Illinois about 20 years ago, let me tell you, I never dreamed that meant that I wouldn't see my brother and my sister very much anymore. And as it turned out, my sister moved to Washington State and my brother moved to New Hampshire. So it's like we are so widespread across the country, and my mom lives in Nevada. Wow. So I'm going to be missing them this Thanksgiving.
Wow. I'm sorry. It's hard to be separated.
But you know what? When we get to heaven, we're not going to have those separations anymore.
Everyone will be at one big banquet table.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of banquet, you have got a fabulous cookbook that I endorse 150%.
Oh, thank you.
And we're going to show just a few of the pictures of the recipes from the cookbook. And Barb, maybe you can comment and tell us what they are.
This is from a bread section. That's a pesto pizza you're looking at and an apricot tea ring. This is a Thanksgiving menu with the pumpkin soup from the first Thanksgiving. And this one is a Christmas dinner. And just wonderful recipes.
Well, if you would like to contact Barb and find out more about her cookbook, you can write to Taste of Health Ministries, P.O. Box 38, Gaston, South Carolina 29053, or you can call her at 803-936-1714. And you can contact her on the web, www.tasteofhealth.net. And we are, at the end of this program, going to put her address up one more time if you didn't have a chance to write it down. But Barb has brought along so many recipes. We are going to extend this program another half hour. But for right now, we're just going to take a little break. But we want to tell you to go get a drink of water, do what you have to do, but come right back for some great recipes. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. And we are just cooking up a storm and getting ready for that big Thanksgiving day, and we're really happy that you've joined us and getting ready to collect some more of Barbara's recipes that she's developed on her own. I bet you were in the kitchen for days and days and days. How many groceries did you go through to finally come up with these recipes?
You know, the tofu turkey didn't take too many tries. Some of the other ones were a little more involved, and God has been good, but it was a lot of groceries, you're right. As you know, when you plan for any Thanksgiving or any holiday meal, you usually spend a few more bucks at the grocery store, and it does add up, but you know what, it's worth it. I love having feasts and celebrations, and I've just turned our cranberries off.
Okay.
And so you can see they're still very thin, but they are getting thicker. So I've let them cook without the lid on for about 10 or 15 minutes. And then we're just going to let them thicken in the refrigerator because there's natural pectin in the cranberry skin, and then that will help it to thicken up.
Okay, well, I will rush this to the refrigerator.
And we're ready to do a winter fruit salad, and I'll read those ingredients for you now. You will need 3 medium pink grapefruit, 3 medium oranges, 2 cups of red or green seedless grapes, and a 1/4 cup pomegranate seeds for garnish. You'll also need 1 head of red tip or green leaf lettuce, a 1/2 cup of milled cane sugar or to taste, and 1 teaspoon of lime zest. Linda, on this recipe, it takes a little bit more time because we've actually sectioned our grapefruit. So we've peeled them and then cut the back off, and then just took a knife and then ran the knife down along each side to pull the sections out. So it is a little bit of work involved in this one. So that's our 3 grapefruit. You can put our 3 oranges in. And I know I brought back a lime from the grocery store, but for some reason it was missing in the refrigerator today. So we're going to put in a lemon zest instead. Yeah, we're just gonna barely stir that because we don't want to break the fruit apart too much. You can add our grapes and let me use our tongs with this and just toss it. And let's add our milled cane sugar. And this will make it juicy. Grapefruit and oranges are very sour sometimes, and so this needs to sit and make its own juices. And if that seems like too much, you can add less, but I tried it with less and it just was not quite sweet enough. Now there's pomegranate that goes in here for garnish, but I could not find one in all of your town. But that's okay because a pomegranate might be one that you don't want to add to a salad anyways because there is the little seed inside it. But I love pomegranates and I think they're wonderful. So what we've done is we've just taken our red leaf lettuce and I've just broken a few leaves on here. And then after it gets juicy, because you want some of the juice with this, that's what makes it good. You're just going to spoon a serving for each person into the center and then top that with maybe a tablespoon of pomegranate seeds. And that's all there is to this recipe.
Or a little bit of flaked coconut.
Oh, that would be very pretty and keep that nice winter.
Yes.
So
Looks
now
good.
our next recipe is a bread recipe, and it's actually a wild rice dinner roll. And we're going to read those ingredients for you now. Would you like to read those, Linda?
Sure, you will need 1½ cups of whole wheat pastry flour, 2½ to 3 cups of unbleached white flour, 2 packages of active dry yeast, 1 tablespoon snipped fresh parsley or 1 teaspoon of dried parsley crushed, 3/4 of a cup wild rice cooked, 1 1/4 cup water, 3 tablespoons of Earth Balance margarine, 2 tablespoons of milled cane sugar, 1 teaspoon of Bill's Best chickenish seasoning, 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt, and 3 tablespoons of soy milk.
Now,
You know, some of these recipes are tongue twisters. Is that why you asked me to read them?
you did a great job.
Thank you.
So this one we're going to start in a saucepan with our water. It's 1 1/4 cups of water, 3 tablespoons of our Earth Balance, and you can tell I'm getting to the end. I'm running out of my accessories. And we're just going to warm this. You don't want to heat it too high. We need 2 tablespoons of milled cane, 1 teaspoon of the Bill's Best. Can you tell which one that is? Because not all of those are going in here. And 1 1/2 teaspoons of salt. And we need our no, we don't need our soy milk. But I did that earlier on the other ones. I was a little tired today getting 3 of those tofu turkeys ready. Okay, this one you're just going to heat. This is probably good enough because we don't want it to be too hot to kill our yeast. You want it between 115 to 120. And if it's not, but if it goes much over that, there's a good chance you're going to kill the yeast and ruin your work. So you don't want to do that. And this is right at 118, so it's perfect.
Okay.
Now we're going to start with a whole wheat pastry flour, which is 1.5 cups. We're not going to add the white flour yet, Linda. Give us our 2 packages of active dry yeast. Go ahead and put it right into the bread. That's about 4.5 teaspoons. And then our 1 tablespoon of snipped fresh parsley and our 3/4 of a cup of cooked wild rice. Let me tell you, wild rice is hard to find in the store. I also made this recipe with a wild rice and brown rice medley. So if you can't find wild rice, go ahead and do that. It works just as well. So now we're going to just go ahead and mix that up just a touch. And we're going to add our hot ingredients. And we're going to form the gluten with the beaters.
You know, I don't think I've ever had bread that actually had wild rice in it.
This will be a treat instead of a treatment.
Okay.
I love to steal Claudia's lines. Okay, now, the important part of making bread is forming that gluten at the very beginning with your liquids and your dries. Let's scrape this down just a little bit. If you miss this step, your bread may have too big of, have you ever cut into a piece of bread and you see great big air bubbles? The gluten hasn't fully formed at the beginning. You can add just a smidge of our white flour and we'll put that in. I'll try and do this so that I don't want to make us
White.
yeah.
It's not Christmas yet.
Yes. Okay. And we're going to actually form these into knots. So they're going to be dinner rolls tied into knots. Go ahead and give us some more. About a cup's worth. Okay. And then when this gets too much for the mixer and bogs it down, then we'll mix in the rest by hand. It's like Grandma used to do.
We know how to do that.
You know, my shoulders were getting kind of sore because not only this, I was working on the next program that we're going to be doing. Okay, I'd say that looks good.
Okay, then we'll add the rest of our
Go ahead
flour.
and do that. And this is 2.5 cups that I'm starting with. Depending on your humidity, depending on how you measured your own flour will depend on how much you need. Don't forget to lighten the flour in the bag before you use it and then spoon it into the cup and level it off with a knife. So let's...
You want me to tackle this?
Sure. Go ahead and mix that in.
You know, Barb, I will never forget, it was one of the first times that you came to 3ABN, and in your backpack, you had one of the hugest skillets in the world, and people standing in line at the airport kept asking you.
Even the pilot wanted to know what I was making him for dinner. I said, this is it. Linda's going to have to get one of these for 3ABN. I have not had to fly with a pan in my backpack for at least
For quite a while.
a couple years. So, now, do you think
But it
that
makes for some good conversation.
it-
It's a conversation piece.
have-
It's kind of heavy, though.
I have the most interesting flights when I come here. Just different people you run into, different things you're carrying with you. Most people are real interested in cookbooks, though, and vegetarian cooking, and so I get to witness, I get to share. And as a matter of fact, the lady I met on the plane this last time works in Las Vegas as behind the gambling tables, and she hates her job. And she lives here in Evansville, and so we got to talk, and I got to tell her how much I loved my job. And she said, you know, you're so excited about it, you just glow. And I said, that's the way I feel about it.
You know, when you're doing what God has created you to do, you're going to glow.
That's right. I hope so. That's what I pray for.
Yes.
Does the bread feel like it needs a little more flour, or do you think it's feeling
I think it needs a little more flour. It's kind of sticky.
a little bit? Here, and you can just kind of knead this in. Now, you know that first Thanksgiving, Linda, was not celebrated on the fourth Thursday in November. It was actually celebrated sometime around the middle to end of September into the first part of October, because it would have been when the harvest was finished, not in November. So, but it was President Lincoln who gave it the fourth Thursday in November.
And so he made it official.
He made it official, and then Franklin D. Roosevelt tried to change that to I think it was the third week in November, and then a few years, maybe 20 or 30 years after that, Congress passed a law that said
You have been reading your history books.
I was trying because, you know, I want the international programs to have some history about the different places. We're going to be going to different countries, making menus from the holidays that they celebrate, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. So I hope to bring you foods from around the world and actually do them right. So
What do you think?
I think that looks very good. Now we're just going to cover that and let it rest.
All right.
You can push that aside and bring over the one that I have that's been raising. The towel on that. Now, I get to do this part just because I've had a lot of stress today.
Okay. All
We're just
right.
gonna
All right.
punch it down a little bit. And this is just a little sticky, so we're going to add just a little flour. I love to do that. It's my favorite part of making bread. So, okay. Going to use the countertop. Now, to make these rolls, you're actually going to cut your dough in half. So let's see if I can do this. I'm just going to give you the idea. We can set one aside, and on this one, Linda, we're going to try to form a rectangle. And I'll push this out to get it started. And it needs to be 10 inches by 12 inches. So we'll see if we can get, and we have a ruler. This is the tool of a perfectionist. So actually, they don't tie so well if they're not the right size. So.
You know, that's a really good consistency for that dough.
Oh, thank you. This
course,
recipe makes it.
We need to tell the viewers a little secret. It's risen and been punched down at least 5 times. Waiting for us cooks to get ready here.
Yes, and we couldn't leave it out. So, okay, I'm going to actually even this up. You want to, well, what you would do, instead of cutting off the end like I just did, is kind of measure it because you want it 12 inches by 10. Hey, 12.
Good.
That was
Good
a good
eye. Yeah.
And then you're going to make your strips about 1 inch wide. I probably should have measured that, but I'm just going to guess. You can cut off one too if you'd like. Cut off a couple because this is the trick.
Okay.
Now we're going to tie these in a knot. You might want to stretch it just a little, twist it over, pull this one side under, and then I just tuck in the ends, okay? Do you see how I formed that?
Okay, where do my ends go?
Okay, that was good. Now just take the one that would naturally go under, put it under, and this one that would naturally come over and kind of tuck it in. Okay, so let's do another one to get the idea. I'll use this one you cut, and you cut another one. Okay, tie it in a knot, kind of loosely. Pull one end under and this end over. And just kind of tuck
Okay,
them
if you
in.
just remember one under and one over, you'll have it. Okay,
There
so
you go.
this one I'm going to put under.
Right, and then that one kind of.
that one.
And then just find a spot to tuck that little corner in.
Okay.
And that's all you need. And then you're going to brush these little knots with just a little bit of the soy milk because that will make them brown better. And stick them in the oven and bake them at 325 degrees for about 20 minutes. So
Sounds good.
there you have it.
All right, what are we cooking next?
Now we are going to
Time
make,
for dessert.
of course, I have a new pie. It is a pumpkin silk pie, and it is so good, Linda. I challenge you to put it against any ordinary pie with eggs and evaporated
But
milk.
your last pumpkin pie was awesome. How could this one be better?
It just is.
Okay.
You know, actually,
believe you.
when I did the first one, I did it with all tofu, and I used maple syrup for the sweetener. This one, well, the ingredient that I'm using in this one was not available when I made the first one, and that's silk creamer. The people that do silk soy milk also have a creamer available now in original and French vanilla flavor.
Ooh.
And it is delicious, and it gives the body in place of the evaporated milk. So I've changed a few things, well, you'll see. It's wonderful, and it tastes just like I would eat it instead of any other pie.
All right.
I like it that much.
Let's go for it.
Let's put those ingredients up for you now. You will need 1/4 cup water, 1 tablespoon energy egg replacer, 1 12-ounce box of light silken tofu extra firm, 1 cup of silk creamer French vanilla flavor, 3/4 cup milled cane sugar, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon ground ginger, 1/8 teaspoon ground cloves, and 1 15-ounce can of 100% pure pumpkin. For the pie crust, you're going to need 1 cup of whole wheat pastry flour, 1 cup of unbleached white flour, 2 tablespoons of milled cane sugar, 1/8 teaspoon salt, 1/2 cup earth balance margarine, and 6 tablespoons of cold water. Now, for the pie crust, I've already gone ahead to mix that up, Linda. And you mix it up like you would a normal pie crust by putting the flour in first, and adding the butter to make the crumbs, and then slowly, and I do this in a food processor. Put your butter in until it turns to crumbs, and then slowly add your water bit by bit until it forms a ball in there. And then I process that for maybe another 20 seconds. Take it out, and then it's a real nice dough. If you need to add just a touch of flour, go ahead. And I roll it out between plastic. So I lay down 2 pieces of plastic, put a little flour on it, roll out my pie shell. And that recipe will make 2 9-inch pie crusts. So I actually had enough for our finished pie and the one that we'll be putting it into.
Question.
Yes.
How do you get your little crust not to burn in the oven?
Well, sometimes they do. It kind of depends on your oven, but there are things you can buy at the store. It's a little round disc of metal that you can stick over. Some of them are just foil. And I've been looking for one, and I couldn't find one because I really need it. That would be a really good Christmas present.
I know what you want for Christmas.
I need some of those. And it really does help keep the edges of your crust from burning.
Okay.
So, and also I will pre-bake now. For custard pies like this, I'll pre-bake the shell about 5 or 6 minutes because it keeps it from getting soggy on the bottom. If you just bake it a little bit and then add your filling and then finish baking it. So,
good.
Okay, let's start with the silk pie. You're going to put in your 1/4 cup of water and 1 tablespoon of energy egg replacer, and this is taking the place of our 2 eggs. It would
Now,
be.
where would we buy the energy egg replacer?
This you would get, it's a powdered box mix that you get at your health food store.
Okay.
Now you can add our 1 box of the Morinu light silken tofu. This is the only kind of tofu to add to
A pie.
Yes, because you want it, anything that's going to be custard-like needs to be made with silken tofu.
Okay.
Very good. And you can blend that up till it's smooth, and then we'll put in the silk. That looks good. Go ahead and add our silk creamer. That's 1 cup of, I use the French vanilla. If you don't have the French vanilla creamer, go ahead and use regular creamer if you can only get the original one, and then just add maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, that looks good. Go ahead and put in, that was 1 cup of silk creamer, 3/4 cup milled cane sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and our seasonings, which were 1 teaspoon of the cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, and 1/8 teaspoon of cloves.
Smells really good.
Okay, and we're ready for our pumpkin. And that's 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin. I was so excited with this pie, I can't tell you.
What gave you the idea to add the silk creamer?
Well, you know, there's just something about the consistency of evaporated milk that it just makes a pumpkin pie really smooth and creamy. And as soon as I saw that Silk had come out with a creamer, the wheels started turning, because I'd been thinking for a long time what I could do. I tried this pumpkin pie very similar to this, just using the eggs, but using tofu, or using actually a milk, an all, liquid like coconut milk or something like that. But it just didn't have enough thickness, firmness to it. So adding the tofu, 1 box of tofu, and then adding the cup of the creamer made it perfect.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You'll notice I flinch whenever I turn on a blender, and that's because a couple years ago, I put some ingredients in a blender, and I put some boiling water in there.
Oh no.
Guess what?
And it was running?
Huh? I turned it on then,
Oh no.
and it exploded everywhere.
Oh,
Never
let's scrape
blend
the sides down.
boiling water.
And if you have to do that with soup, make sure that your blender's not filled more than half, and put a big kitchen towel over the top of your blender, and because inevitably some of that steam will come out and you will burn the top of your hand or your face.
Yes, but some of us have to learn the hard way.
I think I've burned myself a couple times on hot liquids. That looks good, Linda.
It looks great.
I am ready to eat a piece of this pie. Go ahead and pour that right into our
So
crust.
what you're saying is nobody is going to be able to tell that this pie was made with tofu.
No, not a person.
You're banking on it.
This is the best pumpkin pie you've ever had.
All right.
I'm just so excited about this. Bobby is going to love this pie.
Okay.
Let's sprinkle just a little cinnamon on it and show our finished one.
Okay.
It's right
Finished
here.
one.
And it
Oh, it looks terrific.
has the texture
It
and
looks terrific.
the color, and it's delicious. Now you're going to bake this at 425 for 15 minutes. Then without opening the oven, just reduce the heat to 350 and bake it for an additional 30 to 35 minutes until you see it you'll see it boiling almost at the edges of the crust and browning just slightly. And you'll know it's done. Take it out.
Okay. Well, Barb, once again, you have literally outdone yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you for all of your hard work on these recipes.
You're welcome.
And for those of you who are interested in contacting Barb about her cookbook, tell us about the cookbook. How much is it? How can they get it?
The cookbook is $18.95 plus $4.50 shipping and handling, and I'll be glad to send you a copy. It's full color, 10 inches. It's beautiful.
In
It's my
fact, we've got a few pictures. Here's the cover. And we have a few pictures of what you're going to be cooking on the inside.
That's right. That's our breads, Thanksgiving, and a shot of our Christmas dinner out of the book.
Yes. And you can write to Barbara Kerr at Taste of Health Ministries, P.O. Box 38, Gaston, South Carolina, 29053. Or you can call her at 936-1714. You can catch her on the web at www.tasteofhealth.net. One more time, Taste of Health Ministries, P.O. Box 38, Gaston, South Carolina 29053. Phone number is 803-936-1714. And once again, her website, www.tasteofhealth.net. Once again, Barb, thank you so much for all your hard work, and we just want to wish each of you a very, very, very happy Thanksgiving. And we want to urge you to help someone else have a happy Thanksgiving as well. Until next time, may the Lord richly bless you.
Thank you for being our family.
Thank you for being our friends.
May God bless and keep